Imagine having millions in the bank, living the peak of fame, and suddenly losing everything today. We will meet 15 players who, even after earning fortunes in football, ended up at the bottom of the pit. Prepare for stories of rise, falls, and sometimes redemption. Let's go to the video. Let's start talking about Michael Owen. Michael Owen was the kind of player who made us think that lad was born to play ball standout at the '98 World Cup. Ballon d'Or winner in 2001, the man had everything to be an English football legend, but then entered the field the greatest opponent of Owen himself. The English crack developed a gambling addiction that would make even a bookmaker scared. He lost £45,000 in one night alone, and that's pocket change, compared to the £3 million he splashed on horse racing bets. Owen's career was a roller coaster with highs, lows, and many injuries off the pitch. He had a reputation for a generous hand, always helping relatives to establish themselves financially, but it was gambling that really destroyed his finances nowadays. Owen breeds racehorses and became a football match commentator. Go figure. At least he exchanged betting for predictions. Better to comment than to bet, isn't it? Jobson is one of those cases you look at and think, my God, what wasted talent revealed by Brazilians. The man truly exploded at Botafogo. He scored goals, dribbled, but it seems he really liked to dribble the rules. He was caught doping, suspended for 2 years, then another 4. Looks like Jobson mistook life for a video game and thought he could use cheat codes at will. The result? Prison money thrown away in parties and a career that went down the drain when he was in Saudi Arabia. Jobson refused to take a doping test with his background. He was suspended by FIFA for 4 years. After that, he never played at a high level again, had many legal troubles, and ended up imprisoned for a year between 2016 and 2018. Now at 36, Jobson plays for Rio Branco do Acre. It's my friends from stardom at Maracanã to the fields of Acre. A story showing that in football and in life, talent alone isn't enough. Discipline is the name of the game. Valdirin, ex-Vasco player, had everything to shine, but ended up overshadowed by problems off the field. In 2018, he was found sleeping under the eaves of a failed restaurant in Bom Sucesso. From the pitch of São Januário to the cold concrete of the street, Vasco tried to help, sending him to rehab. But Valdirin returned to old habits as if playing against himself. The outcome is heartbreaking. On 19 April 2019, Valdirin was found lifeless, losing the battle against addictions. He once said, "I never imagined I'd sleep on a pavement today with the money I had, with the fame I have, because I had all the wealth. Suddenly I'm sleeping in the street." A sad story making us wonder how many other talents are out there fighting invisible opponents far from the spotlights and glamour of stadiums. A lesson about the dangers lurking off the field. Paul Gascoigne. Paul Gascoigne, or Gazza, was a poet of the ball on English pitches in Newcastle, Tottenham, and the English national team. He made plays, leaving even opponents applauding. But off the pitch, he was a phenomenon in other aspects. Gazza took the philosophy of living each day like it was your last to the extreme. He used to drink 4 bottles of whiskey a day, and it didn't stop there. Heavy drugs were also on the menu. It was as if he were trying to break a world record in self-destruction. The result, all the money went down the drain. Gazza spent fortunes on booze, drugs, luxury cars, and endless parties. He reached semi-consciousness in a hotel in Portugal. Nowadays lives as a lodger and continues fighting alcoholism. Gazza's story is a painful lesson that talent, no matter how great, must be nurtured and protected. Flavio Donacet had that career start. Every player dreams of. He rose from São Paulo's youth team, and 1 year later winner of the Libertadores and Club World Cup. It seemed the man had found the treasure map right, but then in a sequence of bad luck worthy of a slapstick comedy, Flavio suffered injury after injury, and to ease frustration fell into the trap of drugs. Result, lost everything he'd achieved and had to do odd jobs to support his family, from the top of the world to the street. Fortunately, the good news is that this story has quite the twist after undergoing treatment. Flavio has been sober since 2019, and today works on a football project for teenagers in Americana, São Paulo. He also appears at events and plays for Rio Branco de Americana. Who knows, maybe he uses his own experience to prevent other talents from following the same tortuous path. George Best. George Best was a phenomenon. The man was so good that even today he is considered one of Manchester United's greatest ever. But you know that saying, what comes easy goes easy. Well, George took it. Literally, the crack swapped dribbles on the pitch for dribbles at sobriety. He became a true king of the night, spending fortunes on drinks and women. Best once declared, "I spent lots of money on drinks, women, and fast cars. The rest I wasted." At least the man had a sense of humor. Sadly, Best's story had no happy ending. Alcohol destroyed his health and he passed away in 2005. But look what madness. 100,000 people attended his funeral in Northern Ireland, proof that even with all his mistakes, the man truly was a legend. Jorge's journey is a painful reminder that talent, no matter how great, must be cared for in life's game. As in football, it's not enough just to know how to dribble. You need to know where you're going. Marcelinho Paraíba. Marcelinho Paraíba was a genius on the pitch. The problem is that off it, he was a real VIP king. He broke through in the late 90s, made the Brazil squad, and ended up playing in Germany for Hertha Berlin. And it was there in beer country that Marcelinho decided to turn Berlin into a branch of the Brazilian Northeast. He used to spend 30,000 euros a month just sponsoring friends. That's right. 30,000 euros took pagode groups, dozens of friends. It was a true embassy of partying. He even admitted he regretted many excesses. "I spent too much money on partying," he admitted, but here's the plot twist. The man became a coach and now manages Baraunas in Rio Grande do Norte. Who knows? Maybe now he teaches youngsters not only to dribble opponents, but also life temptations. A story showing that sometimes the best assist is the one you give yourself. Jorge Mendonça. Jorge Mendonça was the kind of player that made even Zico sit on the bench. That's right, in the 1978 World Cup. The man managed the feat of being first choice. Instead of the Galinho from Quintino, he started at Bangu Shone at Nautico and made his name at Palmeiras, where he scored more than 100 goals. It seemed the man had found the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. But then, friends, the story took a cinematic turn. Despite investing in real estate, all okay. Jorge fell into temptation of luxury cars and nightlife, and look what a dangerous combo. He spent too much and invested poorly. Result, the fortune dwindled faster than a one-hit wonder player's career. The worst part is that alcoholism entered the field and knocked down what remained of the star's life. Jorge became violent, lost everything, and ended his days living with his parents, victim of a heart attack. He died on 17 February 2006. A sad story showing how life can be more treacherous than a pitch in a downpour. Douglas Silva. Douglas Silva began dribbling not only the ball but also life's difficulties. He left Bangu's youth setup and went straight to prison at 15, tried to rob a bus, but grandma stepped in and made him focus 100% on football. Soon Douglas joined Atlético Paranaense, won the Brazilian championship, and ended up at Flamengo. But money went to his head faster than a defender on a set piece at Flamengo. He gained a reputation for rough play, but was a sweet kitten when managing his own money. He made a fortune but spent it all in extravagance. The end, Douglas swapped boots for a street barbecue, from a packed Maracanã to the corner selling Espetinho. But here's the plot twist. He graduated in physical education and now runs a football school in Bangu. From crime to barbecue, and from barbecue to classroom, a story of overcoming. Clodoaldo. Clodoaldo was the kind of attacker that drove Fortaleza to delirium. The man was a specialist in lob goals, so much so that he became the second highest scorer in the club's history, but it seems he never learned to cover his own finances. Son of a humble family from Cearás interior, Clodoaldo was dazzled by fame and money. The star spent lavishly as if there were no tomorrow. And guess what? Tomorrow came, and with it a hefty bill. In 2017, Clodoaldo was jailed for not paying child support. Yes, the man who lobbed goalkeepers couldn't cover his own expenses. Fortunately, this story had a turnaround. Clodoaldo managed to rebuild, became assistant coach of Fortaleza's youth categories, and even club ambassador, proof that sometimes the best cover is knowing how to get up after the fall. Today, he says, "I'm not going hungry. I don't live rent. I don't depend on anyone for anything." A powerful lesson about bouncing back. Clodoaldo Dantas. Clodoaldo Dantas is one of those cases you look at and ask, how is that possible? In 1976, the right back won the Bola de Prata as the best in his position in the Brasileirão, playing for Bahia. The man had a good salary and liked to flash, spent heavily on clothes, drinks, and cars. Life seemed like a constant replay of his best moments. But then in a plot twist worthy of Mexican soap opera, Clodoaldo ended up in Lisbon, fell for scams, and made deals more flawed than IB's defense result. He ended up homeless. That's right. The former Bola de Prata turned into a street dweller doing odd jobs and selling what he could to eat and drink. Luck only changed when a Portuguese comedian recognized him on the street from there. To a Globo News report was a leap, and Clodoaldo returned to Brazil, got a flat rented and a job from the Athletes Union. Sadly, the happiness didn't last long. He died of pneumonia in 2017, a story showing how life can be more unpredictable than a Rogério Ceni clearance. Paulo César Carrão. Paulo César Carrão is one of those classic cases of rise and fall. The man came from a favela, became world champion in 1970, and was part of Fluminense's legendary tricolor machine with a golden foot and unrestrained talent. Carrão seemed destined to be remembered as one of Brazil's greats, but then friends Carrão decided to taste other juices of life. After hanging up his boots, he plunged into alcohol and drugs. And did he manage to lose even the 1970 world champion medal? Oh, people, not even FIFA gold escaped Carrão's partying. But note, this story has a revival. Paulo César managed to turn things around, becoming a commentator, columnist, and even scout for a French club. He's also partner of a gym in Leblon in Rio de Janeiro. Proof that sometimes the Carrão may fall from the foot, but reborn stronger. And so, folks, what stories? We saw stars who dribbled the ball but slipped in life. Which surprised you the most? Comment below. Liked the video? Then drop a like. Subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss the next video. Cheers for watching until next time.